Identity theft recovery. Secrets the big banks and the credit bureaus don't want you to know. Here with Josh Lane with Schumacher Lane, consumer attorney. And here's the practicality about identity theft. People think they're a victim of identity theft and it becomes overwhelming. Oh my gosh, where do I go? I mean, I've had people say to us, I need a new social security number because identity theft. What they don't realize is that there are law firms who, because of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, will help you clean up their credit report absolutely free, because the law firm is going to make money on the back end if your credit report is not cleaned up. In the end, you're going to get a free credit report and potentially compensated for your actions. Josh, how you doing?
We're good. How are you?
Good. Was that a good summary? Like, open that thing up?
Yeah, they pretty much nailed it.
So when clients call you about identity theft, it's like an overwhelming thing. It's like, oh my God, where do I begin cleaning up my credit report after identity theft, right?
Sure. It's usually a shock to the consumer because the first time they find out about this is debt collection would call or a letter or something saying accounts past due, and they're a person that's never had anything missed. And so, oftentimes people with good credit don't check their credit that often until something goes wrong.
Well, it's a good point. I mean, they're not identity theft people, and they're out there stealing from Target. You see these headlines all the time. Target gets zapped. This place gets zapped. This place gets zapped. And what they do, they steal all these social security numbers, right, to
Right.
create new accounts in someone's name. They're not getting new credit for someone that has bad credit. They're looking for the credit files that have the 720, 750, 800 credit score. These people are not even paying attention. And all of a sudden, they get a call from a credit card, a collection company. And the collection company is, the person's probably saying to them, I don't know that debt. And then they run the credit report, and all of a sudden, everything's on their credit report, right?
Right.
And so when these are the people you want to hear from, right? And we're going to have information down on how to qualify for a free assessment of your identity theft problem, because not everybody qualifies. It all depends on the type of identity theft, what they do, and if it is literally a identity theft, right? So let's walk through what this looks like for a typical client.
Sure. So the first thing we want clients to do, if they haven't already, is pull their credit reports from annualcreditreport.com. The important thing about those reports is they include tons of information, not just your accounts, but all of your name variations, addresses, social security, hard inquiries, and soft inquiries. Oftentimes, creditors will conduct a soft inquiry, including debt collectors, when they're trying to find you or skip tracing a consumer. And so you may see those that won't show up on your typical credit report because it's a soft inquiry, but it may be tied to or related to some sort of identity theft.
Okay. So if someone has not pulled the credit report from Annual Credit Report, if they get on the phone with you, you can share with them how to do that, right? I mean, it's pretty simple, basically. And they can pull it. It's all online, right? They don't need to get the credit reports mailed to them or anything.
No, usually you can get them online working with someone. You can either go to annualcreditreport.com or someone on my staff can help you pull those. It usually takes 5 to 10 minutes. If that doesn't work, then the next step is to call and request the reports be mailed to you.
Okay, so you run the credit report, you confirm with the 3 credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, that this is true identity theft. What's step 2?
Step 2 is to create a full list of everything that's wrong.
Okay.
If there's an account that was opened fraudulently on there, there's a higher chance that there may be not just one. If there is just one, there's likely a hard inquiry related to that, which is affecting your score. And there may be multiple soft inquiries from debt collectors that account's been placed with.
And at that point, you probably have collections on your account too. You're going to see new line items that aren't yours. Many times those are charged off. Then you have the collection, and then you have the credit inquiries plus the soft. I mean, we're talking like every new line item could have 4 or 5 different problems, right? Tied to that identity.
Right. Yeah, the first thing you want to do is identify all of those so that you can move to the next step, which is to file a police report. You want to have a list of all those items so that you can be as specific as possible in that narrative of the police report to say, there's this fraudulent inquiry from this company on or about this date. It resulted in this account being opened, which has now been placed with this debt collector. So the more information, the more specific you can make that police report, the better it'll help you down the road with the dispute.
Yeah, in a previous conversation, you said that to me. You said, "Yeah, sometimes people create a police report, but it's not in the right form or it's not as detailed as need to be." You want all the information to go in this police report, right?
Yes,
And this is something you can counsel our people as well, our clients as well, or people watching this.
absolutely.
Okay. And a little side note before we get to step 4. Um, Side note is you do this all for free, right? Your firm does this all for free. And the
Yes.
reason why is part of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. If you dispute an error with the furnisher or the creditor and the credit bureau and it's not fixed, that's where your fees get covered by their mistake, right?
Correct. So under the fee shifting provision of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, if we file a lawsuit to get those errors corrected, as part of that, we'll request the whether credit bureaus or the creditors, data furnishers to cover our attorney's fees and costs and bring that suit.
So I like to point that out because it doesn't make sense. Well, why would this company do this for free? And the reason why the Fair Credit Reporting Act has that provision, because if they didn't, no one would pay the money to lawyers to file because many times people with bad credit don't have the money. Okay, so step 1 was run the credit report. Step 2, make the big list. Step 3, file the police report with as much information as possible. What's step 4?
Well, you're going to want to make sure you get an unredacted copy of that police report. It's easiest to just get it at the time you make it.
Okay.
This seems kind of a redundant step, but unfortunately, a lot of times people make that police report, they don't get a copy of it. And when they have to, now you have to wait, potentially a week or two to try to request one. And then the one you get may be redacted, which is harder to verify that you were the actual person that made that
Okay,
police
so
report.
step 4 is get an unredacted copy of the police report, and just so in case people don't understand, a redacted copy is where things are blocked out, like where you can't
Right.
read it.
It may just list your name and the date, the officer's name, but not your social, your date of birth, your any other identifying information.
Perfect.
And we need that information on there as part of the dispute process.
And by the way, when you file a police report, you call your local. If you live in Scottsdale, Arizona, you call Scottsdale, Arizona, you just call the local police department?
Some police departments have a specific financial harms or financial crimes place where you can go make that report. It's easiest to look online first or call the non-emergency line and ask.
That's the key. It's a non-emergency, you don't call 911, you
Right.
call the non-emergency police line, they'll put you the right direction. Okay, so that's number 4. What's step 5?
Next is to actually dispute. And here's where we see a big mistake. Oftentimes, even if people, especially people handle this on their own, even if they do go get that police report and get a copy of it, they most commonly, and it seems logical, send it to the creditor reported or the debt collector reported. And that's all they do. They sit back and wait. And because that creditor, that debt collector will say, we'll look into it, we'll investigate. Meanwhile, you're waiting weeks, months, you may hear from them, you may not. They may just continue to report. And the reason is there's no potential lawsuit that can be brought against them under the Fair Credit Reporting Act by that direct dispute. It's got to go indirectly to the credit bureaus first, and the credit bureaus have to notify the furnisher, whether it's the original creditor or the debt collector.
So you dispute the item to the credit bureau, not the
Right.
furnisher. That's what makes it a legal matter, right? Now, you'll do this for people, right? So when people meet with you, you'll actually send out the letters on their behalf, right?
We meet with them to get the letters compiled. We ask for there's some additional documents, including in this case, the police report. We'll need copies of to send with the dispute. And then those get sent out. We track the timelines that are required for waiting periods of investigation by the credit bureaus and the furnishers. And then we keep the client up to date as to when is it time to check back in. That waiting period's over. Let's pull new reports and see if the issues have been fixed.
Great. So then it's a waiting game, right? You sit in the dispute. And then in 45 days, you start seeing these cleaned up on your credit report, right?
Right, and it may even happen faster than that. When you're disputing something under the Fair Credit Reporting Act as identity theft, it's supposed to be blocked by the credit bureaus within 4 days of receiving that dispute. So
Wow,
you
I
should
didn't know that.
get a notice within probably a week from mailing that dispute saying, "We got your dispute, and it's been temporarily blocked while we're conducting the investigation."
Right.
Then they have that full 30 days from receipt to conduct the investigation. And during that time, the furnisher may verify that back to the credit bureaus, in which case they put it back into your credit report and send you a new notice saying it's been placed back in there. Or the furnisher may agree with you after an investigation that it was due to identity theft and issue a deletion request to the credit bureaus, in which they again will send you something saying, here's the results of your investigation and that account's been removed.
Now, let's just pretend someone had identity theft and they send out 20 disputes, right? Do you send different disputes to all the credit bureaus, or is it one dispute per bureau with all of them on there?
Would typically send one with all of them on there
Okay.
just to make sure that it's all, if it's identity theft, you wanna dispute it all. It's like, you wanna list everything, and that goes back to, the first step of making that complete list of everything that's wrong and making sure you kinda cover it all.
Okay. So you dispute you 3 letters, 3 disputes with the police report, you're sending it in. And then for the most part, 90% of the time, the errors come off, right?
Correct.
Okay. So then out of a list of 20 disputes, you're gonna have 18 clear, and you're gonna have 2 left, right? And that's where you manage it. So you in 45 days, you're meeting with the client again, you're reviewing their credit report, and you notice, oh great, we got 18 off, and now you have 2 more. The saying that we've said all often with your company is 42% of the time errors after bankruptcy are on the credit report. 100% of the time they're fixed, right? So you may have 20 disputes. In the first round, 90% come off, but then the follow-up is where you get paid by the credit bureau or the furnisher or the creditor, because you file a lawsuit under the Fair Credit Reporting Act that you disputed this and it wasn't fixed. Is that right?
Correct.
And what does this typically look like at this point? So once they file the case, or and you have a lawsuit going, what does this look like from the debtor? What does this look like? How involved are they? What are you doing? How long does it take? Just give us the color around that for identity theft lawsuits.
Sure. So first, I mean, every lawsuit's going to be slightly different. It depends on the parties, the opposing parties involved, who their counsel is, how cooperative they're willing to be. Typically, in these cases, once we confirm that there's errors that weren't removed, we validate that the dispute was received, everything's good, it's ready to proceed to litigation. We'll get that complaint drafted and filed, usually within 2 weeks. We'll send the client notice once it's filed, and then from there, it's kind of a waiting game. We serve the parties. They had time to appear. They always request extensions. So that kind of, a lot of clients get nervous because they see that notice, the lawsuit's been filed, and they don't hear anything for 60 days. That is the, post lawsuit filing investigation period, where the creditor, the credit bureau, they're getting their attorney up to speed. They're reviewing the file, the disputes, trying to figure out why wasn't it fixed or removed, or when they got the dispute, and see what do we do moving forward. At that point, our office is working with their attorney as far as trying to get the issue corrected as soon as possible.
And how long? Are we talking 3 months, 6 months? How long?
The average case probably takes around 9 months,
Okay.
6 to
So
9 months.
this is a big lift. This is a big lift. Okay, and during that time, are those mistakes still on the credit report?
It depends. For identity theft, typically one of the first things we'll do once we get that contact with the defendant's attorney is to request, just go ahead and suppress it right now. We've taken it this far. They've seen we've disputed it. They've seen that we've now filed a lawsuit. Even if it's a temporary suppression, and if we were to say worst case scenario, lose the case and it goes back on there, it's typically suppressed during the litigation. And that's something we ask for early on to, again, try to get it as soon as possible off the report so it's not affecting our clients.
Got it. And then in some cases, if you mentioned statutory damages, this is where someone applied to, for example, a car or a home or a credit card or whatever, and they were denied because of this identity theft, right? There's there's damages that they can be awarded, which are different if they didn't apply, right? Or don't have that direct denial because of the identity theft. Is that right?
Right. So the denial is one form of actual damages.
Oh, actual.
The,
That's right.
the statutory damages would be set by the Fair Credit Reporting Act, like
Okay.
$100 to $1,000 for the violation. The actual damages are really only limited to what we can prove actually damaged the client as a direct result of that inaccuracy.
So, for example, you're right. Thank you for schooling me on that. So, for example, if someone's buying a home, right, and they bought a home and they had good credit, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I'm paying an extra 3% higher interest rate because of this error that's not corrected, right? This is of the two that did not get approved. You could take that difference of 3%, and that would be like, hey, proof of actual damages. Is that right?
Yeah, it would require an expert to come in and basically part of the litigation process, we would handle proving up that damage, but that could be one form of actual damages.
And when there are actual damages, that's when someone's not only gonna get their credit report clean, they may make some money on the background also because of what they've incurred.
Absolutely.
So if someone has identity theft, like range it with your firm, you've paid debt, consumers of identity theft ranging from X number X to Y. What would that be?
As far as valuation on those cases,
Yeah, no, money to them. They get a clean credit report, but they've also received money because of either actual or statutory damages.
right? So that's going to be heavily contingent on the actual damages that we can prove, right?
For
Because
sure,
the
for
actual
sure.
damages could be recoverable. Statutory damages, like you said, they max out at $1,000.
Per item, right?
Correct. A range could typically be, depending on how many defendants are in the case, anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000.
So people could have a I've been a victim of identity theft. They go through your program. Depending on how quickly their credit report cleans up, depending on what their actual damages were, they could actually get money to the tune of like $30,000 or $70,000. I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Right. So yeah, it will depend on their particular case, but those are results that we've seen on identity theft cases in the past.
For your clients
Correct.
that you've paid out,
Correct.
and you do this for free.
Our fees are recovered from that by the credit bureaus or the creditors.
I just keep bringing this up because it's almost too good to be true. But this is what we do with our company. We bring people to the clients that have had bankruptcies, have had foreclosure, have had identity thefts, people who are struggling, and it's a David and Goliath story with us, right? It's the little guy against the big guy. And this is why we come with this information. We have all this information in the notes section of this video, in the description section of the video, explaining what we do, how to sign up for a free consultation to see if you qualify for free legal counsel. Basically what it is, free legal counsel. Josh, thank you for your time. We'll see you soon.
All right. Appreciate it.